This incredible new Marvel Legends 2-pack featuring Doctor Strange, as well as Wong and Bats, has finally landed in my arms. And although it's not perfect, it's still pretty good overall. So let's take a closer look and see what this set has to offer. Now jumping into the packaging itself, you can see here it's a pretty nice window-based box. You can see Wong and Strange as well as all the accessories, right? Kind of just popping out at you, which is great. On the back here, you kind of see nice artwork depicting Dormammu on the left-hand side here. And on the right-hand side, you have Wong, right? So really nice artwork there on the back. On the side is the same artwork, just, more of a bust shot there. And there's some text on the left-hand side. Again, on the front-hand side, the Doctor Strange logo looks pretty good and very classic. Doctor Strange logo on the top there. Standard stuff on the bottom. Generally speaking, it's a really nice box. Nothing too crazy, but pretty good overall. Now, as we move towards the unboxing of the figures and the accessories themselves, I'll be yanking these guys out of here from the right-hand side. And as you can see, it's pretty effortless. Doesn't get stuck, which is good. Makes it nice and easy for us to pull the figures and the accessories out. Right, so it actually comes with a really nice backdrop here that you can see. Really nice magical effect sort of backdrop that we can use for pictures, dioramas, and nice shots that we may want to try out. Right, the layout of the actual figures and accessories themselves are laid out well in the actual packaging. You can see the differences in what belongs to who. Right, like Wong's hand sculpts are here. Fairly straightforward. Right, you also see the different magical effects on each side of the character and figures themselves, which makes it nice and easy to figure out. On the back, you see Strange's cloak sticking out, and you also see Bats' vertical peg stand, which keeps him upright. So overall, pretty good package layout. Looks pretty easy to pull out, and yeah, let's see what else we have. Now moving on to the accessories themselves, I'll pull up Mr. Bats here first, aka Doctor Strange's wonderful dog. Right, you can see here there is a nice cool vertical peg stand that will allow him to stand up upright at times, right? So it could be posed next to Doctor Strange and or Wong fairly easily. Right, now I really do like the green colors that they've decided to use on Bats here, right? It is a very translucent color. There are different shades of the green itself, right? Like by the ears, the tail seems to be a little darker, right? A little less translucent. Whereas the body, you can kind of, it's more translucent and you kind of see it a little easier. So pretty good design overall of Bats. And I'll just plop this vertical peg stand up so you can just keep him up there and kind of see what it looks like when he's upright and vertical. Now moving on to some of the magical effects here. What's interesting is that they decided to use the MCU magical effects, not the classic magical effects. For these two, not too bad overall. I do like the MCU magical effects. So you can see here that the hand mold fits well behind it on the larger one. And here's a nice shot of the smaller one, right? So you can see here, again, very circular, and the hands and the finger placement is good and nice and well in the center, right? And that the positioning of the hand mold itself, where it sits, and the actual molding of the magic effect is pretty cool. Here's some peg movement here as well. Just want to quickly show you that, which I'll dive a little more into shortly. Now moving on to Wong's hand molds. So this is his open hand gesture hand molds here. The one on the left that you can see here, and also the one on the right. Right. So what's good is these are pretty standard hand molds for most characters. And here's with his hand open. Right. And the next one here are like the finger snapping ones. Right. So as part of his Wong's magical set, he kind of snaps his fingers for spells and things like that. So it's really cool that they added this in here as a separate hand mold for Wong, because it is very common sort of hand gesture for him, which is cool. Now here's me moving the peg, right, back and forth. So for articulation, you can see here that it moves fairly well, right? You just gotta move it a little with some force, not too much force, but it'll definitely allow you to move the hands at the wrist joints fairly easily. So it's good at the that's able to move. Now moving on to Strange or Doctor Strange rather, and Dormammu's hand magic effects here. You can see here it is purple. It's really cool purple effect, or rather magic effect here, whereas the hand molds are yellow, right? There is some bleeding on the yellow here hand. You can see a little purple bleeding. It's not too bad because you don't see it too often, and you can kind of see how the wrist joint connection works here, which is pretty good, right? So those are the larger ones, or the larger magical effect. Here's the smaller magical effect. Again, same thing as the larger one. Nice sort of mold here. Really like the purple translucent coloring. Again, you do have some purple bleeding of the colors onto the fingers. Again, not too bad, but you do see it. But again, you won't see it too often or notice it because it is on the backside, right? And here's a really good accessory from Dormammu from the Damnation comics back. I don't know what year it came out, but this is based off of those Damnation comics runs, right? So here's Dormammu's head sculpt here, which is really awesome. Really like the kind of facial expression that he has. The hair looks awesome, right, in terms of the sculpting of it. Different layers from top to bottom, right? You can see a little color change closer to the top and extensions of the hair, which is good, or the flames themselves. So that's nice and good in terms of the different color changes, and really a lot of details to his face and the actual mask as well. So awesome set of accessories so far that we can see. Now moving on to Doctor Strange's design, we'll be focusing more on some of these details as well as articulation. Right, so as you can see here, it's a really nice classic costume based off his Damnation comics back in 2014. Right, he does have a lot of nice paint applications that are very vibrant, especially his cloak. Right, his cloak is not made of cloth, unfortunately. It's a much harder and stiffer material, although it does have this nice sort of yellow etching printed throughout the ends of the actual cloak itself. Right, that you just saw on the right-hand side. Also on the left-hand side here, you can see it's continuous throughout the rest of the cloak. So that's nice, but it would have been nice, again, if they made it into like some sort of softer cloth type of material rather than the hard material that he has here. But the colors of the cloak itself are very cool, in line with the actual like design of the character from the comics, and really featuring a lot of those similar looks. So definitely hate on that. But let's take a quick look at the articulation, right? So here's some of the head movement, right? Left side to side, up and down. Kind of see here the head moves pretty well in terms of where he can go in terms of range of motion. Checking out his arms here, points forward fairly well. Doesn't point straight at you. It kind of goes at a slight angle. Not too bad though, right? Because you can also do his lateral movement side to side here, which is pretty good. Some bending at the elbow area of his arms, moves fairly easily. Nice rotation of the actual, it's like forearms and hands from left to right. So that's good because it doesn't stick. Right, rotating his actual hand so you can position different spell positions rather. Right, so his left and his right move around fairly well. Right at the wrist joint area, which is good. So you can create some more spell-based poses. Moving his legs up to the 90-degree mark, it moves well, doesn't really get stuck or anywhere there. Knee joints click pretty hard, but that's pretty standard and normal from what I've seen a lot of Hasbro Marvel Legends recently. Some good lower leg rotation here. Also some good hip area rotation of the leg itself, right? As well as the waist, right? You can see that the hip itself moves pretty well. Some toe movement here, front to back, which is good. Has nice range of motion there, so you can kind of put him in like kneeling positions easily, more better if it needs to be more dynamic. Right now, looking up at the torso crunch, he doesn't move as far down as I would have liked him to. Still moves pretty well overall. He does turn side to side and rotate pretty good, right? So a good, nice for full rotation there. You can kind of see his back as I move the ab crunch lower down into his stomach area. So overall, pretty decent articulation. The arms don't move as much to full degree as I would have liked, but he does have enough articulation so you can get some good magical poses with him. Now moving on to Doctor Strange's partner in crime, Wong. He does look pretty cool in terms of his overall design, his aesthetics, and just the look and feel of him. Right, I really like this green sort of like kung fu outfit, which is his classic outfit that he's really used in the comics permanently, and especially in the past. Right, it does have a nice little sort of like layering of different greens. Right, you can really see a lot of the wrinkles in the outfit itself. Right, so I really like those extra dimensions throughout the actual costume itself. from all the way down from like his leg area to his feet, all the way to his wrist. So really good job by Hasbro there, of making it look very realistic and artistic as well, right? So really like all the design. Now in terms of articulation, moving his head side to side here, you can see he has nice rotation in terms of his head. Up and down isn't as much as Doctor Strange, but it's okay, right? Moving his arms to the front position and laterally here and all the way back moves much simpler or easier rather than Doctor Strange, just because he doesn't have anything restricting his shoulders. When he does move laterally, he does have a pretty hard click there, but which is not too bad actually, but you just got to push through a little bit, right? A little bend at the elbow area here, a rotation to the side. Also, in terms of his hands, does have good rotation itself for more magical effects. Also has some rotation at that hip area, both left and right. The lower side of his leg doesn't have a rotation like Strange. Not too bad though. Some clicking at the knees, but pretty good bend overall. Again, good for dynamic posing. His toes move pretty good here. You can see straight up and down, which is good. A lot of sort of degree movement there. Doesn't really get stuck in terms of the posing. His ab crunch doesn't move much here at all. You can see here, I'm kind of pushing it straight down pretty hard, but he does not move as far as I would like to have. Also rotating his body, you can see here, it kind of gets stuck and springs back, right? So he doesn't rotate as hard. So in other words, if you want to have him like in positions where he's kind of looking to the side, it doesn't move as much, unfortunately. Moving down like through his waist area though, does have some movement there, but again, it does not have a lot of ab crunch movement. So you can also see here just the hands and positioning of it is pretty good overall. And the design of Wong and just the look of him looks great. I just wish they added a little more articulation to give him more in line with Doctor Strange. Next, I want to quickly show you guys kind of what the accessories look like when they're both on Doctor Strange and Wong. Right, so with Doctor Strange, you can see here that I've put his purple magical effects as well as Dormammu's head. Really like the scalability or the scale of the actual accessories themselves. They don't feel too large, right? We can kind of reposition the way his hands are or the magical effects of his hands, right? But the Dormammu head itself looks awesome in terms of, the actual feel and design of it and where it fits in the actual cloak, right? It's not overextended, so a really good pair of accessories there for Doctor Strange. Now moving on to Wong, you can see here that the yellow magic accessories I've kind of connected here. Again, I put the larger one on the right hand, smaller one on the left hand. You can obviously swap them around, but I just want to quickly show you guys what it does look like in terms of accessories being on. And overall, pretty decent set and some good options for both Wong and Doctor Strange. So that wraps it up, guys, and thanks for joining me as we explore the new Hasbro Marvel Legends Doctor Strange and Wong as well as Bats figures. Let me know in the comments if you feel like picking any of this up and whether or not you're a big fan of these characters. Overall, they do make a great set to the Midnight Suns. So let me know in the comments what you think and hope you'll be picking them up. And don't forget to smash that subscribe button for more content on the coolest superhero collectibles around. Until next time, folks, keep on collecting.